Three, two, one, we're live. Oh my goodness, it's real talk, and today's topic is very exciting to me. It's facing the habit of not speaking the truth. And this came up yesterday. So I've been in a mastermind group with 6 women for the last 4 years. Same group of women talking every week. If you have a mastermind group or you've been a part of one, or a circle, a women's circle or a men's circle, go ahead and type circle into the chat if that's something that you've been a part of before. And if you've never been a part of it, it's an amazing experience, and I'll talk more about that. But we call this mastermind actually a mistress mind because it's all women. And like I said, it's been going on for 4 years or so, and it started kind of falling apart recently. Some of the women stopped showing up or showed up but couldn't think of anything they needed help with. So it lost its luster. So I started to think like, well, there's something that keeps me showing up here. I don't really want to let it go. How do we up-level this? So I posed the question to this group of 6 women, and I said, what I've noticed is attendance or engagement has gotten very sparse. Are you still interested in this mistress mind? Clearly something must be off. I'd really love your honesty. Well, the following week, one of the women who had been showing up less and less came and asked if she could shine the spotlight on why she had been bailing in her commitment to this circle of women. And it turns out that she had been withholding the ways she didn't trust or respect some of the life choices of individuals in the group. And she went through each one of us and blatantly told us where we were out of alignment or hiding in some way, or repeating patterns that weren't healthy. And she's just seeing us spin in these cycles. And at first, my eyeballs got wide, and I kind of stopped breathing because there was no buffering, no sugarcoating. She wasn't worried about saying it in some diplomatic way to be correct and take care of anyone's feelings. She completely stopped caretaking everyone else's feelings and just delivered the raw truth of what she saw and what she experienced and what it created in her. So it wasn't like she was absolving herself of responsibility. She actually took responsibility for withholding, and that withhold created distance between her and the group. And finally, I started to exhale with relief. I thought, here it is, finally, the truth we've all been avoiding in ourselves and in our connecting with one another. So I have a question for you. Where in our life don't we tell the truth? Or where in your life don't you tell the truth, and why? So go ahead and put in the chat, where in your life don't you tell the truth, and why? Now, it's common to rationalize not telling the truth because we want to be relatable to other people. We want to connect, and we're afraid of appearing crazy or what our truth might do to other people, afraid they won't be able to handle it, afraid of what they might think or do, afraid of being wrong, that our truth is invalid in some way, and it's going to be crushed. Pattern from childhood, I see Teresa say. Excellent. So what I want to share, my realization is that all of those things are true. We're fear of being wrong and fear of what the truth might do, what others will think. But even more so, it's a habit. So this Real Talk episode is about facing the habit of not speaking the truth totally. The real truth, the raw truth, unadulterated. What's the benefit of speaking the truth totally? Well, first of all, it's an insurance policy for peace within yourself, because when you've got a withhold with someone in your life, it creates all kinds of contorting within yourself in order to be with that other person in an interaction, which is really stressful. The energy it takes to pretend or avoid or contort is exhausting and eventually builds resentment. Is this true, right, true, or false in this, if you resonate with this? The contorting creates stress and tension, and it's exhausting and ultimately leads to resentment. When we feel resentful, we start to turn away. And when we start to turn away with our spouse, with our parents, with our friends, with our coworkers, when we start to turn away, trust erodes. I can't be the real me with you. It's not safe to bring all of me. You can't handle it. Therefore, I'll withhold in order to keep your feelings safe and keep me safe from being some perpetrator of your feelings. And when we do that, we start trashing our friends and family members, either silently or openly, and our partners, instead of cherishing. We start trashing instead of cherishing. We build resentment rather than gratitude. And once that starts to happen, there's less dependency in the relationship in a dysfunctional way. If we can't depend on the people in our lives, then why do we have them in our lives? The irony is the assumption that something bad will happen to us if we tell the truth of who we really are. But really, from the moment that we suppress the truth, we've actually done that harm already. We've created the harm that we're afraid we'll create by telling the truth, by not telling the truth. We've actually done it to ourselves. We've done it to the relationship. So it's a twofer betrayal. We do it to ourselves. Maybe it's a threefer. We've done it to ourselves. We betray the relationship, and we betray the other person from evolving, from growing, from breaking old patterns that frankly aren't working for them anymore. When something isn't true for us, not only does trust erode, but when something isn't true in a relationship with another, in other words, you're having a withhold, something that you are thinking or knowing, but you're not saying, you're not sharing, it kills the aliveness of the relationship. How do you think you're likely to show up for someone or something when there's no life in it? Like all the spirit's been choked. It's a pretty uninteresting game. So what do you all think is the biggest challenge of our time? Think about it for a moment. What do you think is the biggest challenge of our time? Some people will say it's the environment. Some people will say it's poverty, not enough money. But I'm starting to think that the biggest challenge of our time is not those things. It's not the environment. It's not money. It's actually being who we truly are with each other. What kind of world would it be if we were all really honest and direct with each other? And I'm not talking about projecting or vomiting on each other, reckless vomiting, not talking about that. I'm talking about, how can I put it? Communication hygiene. If we cleaned up our communication hygiene, what might get to happen for our sense of love, safety, and belonging with ourselves and with one another? What kind of community would that create? Truth-telling is a choice. When you go into a meeting or a coaching session or you're hanging out with friends, you have to decide who you are going to be. Otherwise, you have to fake it to be with others, laughing at jokes that aren't funny, pretending to be comfortable when you're not. And this really robs you of energy. It's a relentless wing flapping charade that we keep having to flap our wings harder and harder just to keep up the charade. Not telling the truth is at a certain point a habit. So how do you change a habit? You change a habit by doing something else. So tell the truth instead of not telling the truth. Okay, well, I'm seeing in the comments, but I'm scared of hurting someone. Yeah. Another thought that I've had myself around telling the truth is I'm scared that something bad will happen, or that I'll be judged. I'll be persecuted in some way for telling the truth, or something bad will happen. Something gets threatened. Don't know what it is, but something bad will happen. Someone will die if I tell the truth. And here's an insight. It isn't that we fear what people will think. It's that we think that people will have the power to hurt us through what they think. Let me try to say that again. It isn't that we fear what people will think. It's that we think that people will have the power to hurt us through what they think. And that also isn't true. What I noticed when my mistress mind friend told the truth totally without any sugarcoating, it liberated us all. Now, we could have decided to defend, opt out, counterattack, but instead we received her truth. And maybe it was easier to do so because it wasn't sugarcoated, so there was no, it kind of disarmed everything. She wasn't saying it with a need for it to be right for us. She was just choosing to be in integrity with herself. So there was some way where there was like nothing to arm against or defend against. What I admired so much was this power, the power of this authenticity, and how I aspire to have more of that. So I'm curious, do you aspire to tell more truth, and can you see from this conversation what that might be liberating? I mean, it's cliche to say the truth will set you free, but it does. So I think it's really an interesting dialogue or inquiry to wonder about this power of authenticity and what might get to happen if you dared to keep it real with your clients, with your spouse, with your coworkers, to come clean, just because it's what's right for you, not because it needs to be right for the other person. And this is really the definition of authenticity as Carrie and I define it, that authenticity is telling the truth without needing it to be right for others. So here's some questions for you. What is my authentic truth untold right now? What is my authentic truth untold? And if I wasn't worried about hurting someone's feelings, what is that untold truth? Worrying about hurting someone's feelings really stops us in our tracks, contributes to so much contorting. And when we contort, we actually split ourselves in two. So notice, where am I splitting myself into to please others? Now, here's an interesting comment from Sam saying, oh, well, but they're not honest with me. This is great. Thank you, Sam, for this. That may be true, but what's more true is that you can't expect someone else to do what you won't do, because all you perfect in that is withholding, and withholding creates all kinds of havoc in your mind, your heart, your body. It puts love and well-being on lockdown. You may be amazed that the really hard conversations don't burn relationships. Of course they can, but then it wasn't a real relationship anyway. That they don't burn relationships, they build intimacy. If you do it with care and empathy. So let me be clear that I'm not talking about reckless vomiting on someone who isn't willing to receive it. In my last episode of Real Talk, which is titled "The Number One Reason People Hire You as Their Coach," also talked about bold truth telling with care and empathy. It does have a compassion to it. This isn't slaying someone with your need to get the truth off your chest when they're not ready to hear it. And one of the steps of that is saying, hey, like, I've got a truth to deliver. Are you willing to hear it? And if you also see telling the truth as a form of love, this is the holistic systems change that I'm now seeing so clearly is needed to create a workable humanity. Does that ring as true? Go ahead and put a comment in the chat if this is resonating for you. Only from truth can you have a foundation of trust. And until we tell the truth, we're going to create war. We're going to create discord. We're going to create discord at the level of our personal relationships, and we're going to create war at the global level. You have to decide if you are interested in authentic connection. This is not only the key to create connection, love with one another, intimacy, depth, but it's also the key to confidence. I often get the question of, or the desire, people say, I want to feel more confident. The key to confidence, oh, here's a good one. The key to confidence is to self-bless your truth. This is the idea that truth is a blessing, and self-blessing is learning to value the blessing of our own truth, to trust that it's not something bad that will happen when we tell the truth, that it's actually something good. And ultimately it doesn't matter because the truth is always better than the lie. Ultimately, maybe not right away because it can be painful. So the key to confidence is to self-bless your truth. The idea that truth is a blessing and self-blessing is learning to value that blessing of our own truth. Because people have so much suspicion and doubt of the validity of their truth. We get knocked off it so quick. Oh, must be something wrong with me because the other person got defensive. Like, people have so much suspicion of the validity of their truth. And self-blessing is getting over the feeling of being criticized and just allowing ourselves to be seen. One of the things that I often hear at the end of one of our HCI live events or a retreat where we get off our computers and get live together in a room to do deeper coaching skills, to build our business, to network, to really to transform. And we have our next one coming up in Austin, Texas in November. You can go to hcilive.com to learn more about it. And I've had so many students come to me in awe and gratitude for finding what they've been looking for so long and didn't even know it, which was to discover the capacity within themselves to say what's true for them. It's pretty exciting. If we're going to speak with credibility, we must learn to tell the truth. If you're going to become a coach, a speaker, an author, a leader, if you're going to develop the deep sense of connection you long for, then you must rise above your fear of criticism and allow yourself to tell the truth. And in this, and believe me, I am still a student of this. I have not perfected this for myself. So everything that I'm telling you today is what I myself need to hear. So please do not put me on a pedestal as having totally figured this out. I'm saying this is my therapy session to myself with you. So we are in this therapy session together. But we liberate and restore so much creative energy when we let go of keeping up the enterprise, the charade, the pretending. And that's the longing, the ability to fully express you and be seen. And that's the work that we're doing at Health Coach Institute. That's what we stand for. And this is the work that we do in our programs and at our live events. And if that's something that you want to engage with, then come to HCI Live and discover it for yourself. Go to hcilive.com. And sure, it's scary, but it's liberating. You finally get to come out of hiding. And when you're 100% honest at all times, you never have anything to hide. This is huge. There's no chance of being found out, and life feels lighter due to the absence of having to uphold the charade. So powerful. So I would love to hear any questions or comments you have. What are you taking away from this? What are you thinking on? So I want to hear some of these comments. And Deanna says, it really makes sense. Your voice is the carrier of your emotions. So when you speak from compassion, it increases odds of being received. Yes, great. Teresa says, definitely interested and committed to the path towards authenticity. HCI is helping me so much. Looking forward to HCI Live in November. Teresa, can't wait to see you. Awesome. Tim says, everyone has their own idea of truth as they choose to filter it. So just remember, both sides may have their truth. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and I'm seeing from Connie and Lauren and Hillary all saying this resonates deeply. And Lauren says, this is good. I have a person I want to be honest with about her actively seeking out the negative people or situations. But she would likely rip me a new one. And can you get okay with that? She might. You might also request that she not respond for 24 hours. It not be necessarily an immediate dialogue, because when somebody first delivers a really hard truth, something that's hard to hear, and this is actually quite important. I've been living in community for the last 25 years, like actually living under a roof with 5, 8, 12, 14 people raising kids together, and you're pretty close. Like you have to deprivatize a lot, and when we withhold, it really creates a difficult situation. So one of the practices that we used in sharing withholds with one another was to not respond for 24 hours, because the immediate response is usually a reaction. It's something to defend or counterattack, right? And armor up. Or slingshot back, like, well, but you, blah, 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 right? That's why I'm this way, is because you're that way. So it's really your fault. And if we can just receive somebody's reflection of us, a hard truth or a withhold, and we can receive that, and then 24 hours later, some of that reactionariness settles, and then what remains is actually the truth. And when someone gives you a really hard truth, and you sit with it for 24 hours, what you can do is, when you do respond first to the parts that are true. So you can say, these things occur as true, actually really hard to hear, and my feelings are bruised, I'm hurting, this is painful to receive, I'm scared that it means you don't love me, or that I don't belong here, or I'm going to be ousted from the tribe. But yeah, I can see where this is true. So that's the first step, is to actually honor the parts that are true. And then for the parts that aren't true for you, you can simply say, and these are the parts that don't ring as true for me, that don't belong to me. And here's why I see it that way. So you don't have to swallow everything that's slung at you, because we don't know the person who is delivering the truth. Is it projection or is it truth? Right? So look for, the first piece is to look for what is true here that's going on. If I'm really, really honest about it, what part can I say, yeah, yeah, I've been doing that behavior, that's true. Is that helpful? I hope that is. Okay, what else? Ingrid says, telling my truth will allow me to hear back that truth reflected and grow from it. Absolutely. Ashley says, I find that speaking truthfully and approaching some of that discomfort ends up being much less uncomfortable than living dishonestly. Yeah, living dishonestly, that contortion, really hard. You just have to rip the Band-Aid off. Absolutely. And Julie says, the truth shall set you free. And Teresa says, is it projection or is it truth? Loving that statement. That might be a future Facebook Live. That sounds like a good discussion. Absolutely. So I hope that this discussion has touched you, has maybe opened your heart. And this is the, I think, the game of our times, to face the habit of not speaking the truth. So once again, if this is something that you want to take further and deeper, then join us for HCI Live. It's a 3-day live event. The next one is happening in August, in Austin, Texas, in November 2018. So come join us. Go to hcilive.com to find out more. And if you're brand new to this tribe and you just happened upon this video, I'm Stacey Morgenstern, founder of the Health Coach Institute, and you can learn more or get exclusive updates and free workshops and all kinds of wonderful dialogues to deepen your truth at healthcoachinstitute.com. healthcoachinstitute.com. Come and join our tribe. I'll see you on the next episode of Real Talk.